The Justice Gambit by David Brookes. Part 1. Injustice and Payback. The leaves were damp, slick with mist clinging to the overgrown branches on the edge of the gravel driveway. The cold drops slipped from the tree limbs above, trickling down the back of my neck and sending an involuntary shiver through me. I fought the urge to shake the water off, knowing that even the slightest movement might betray my hiding place. Ahead of me, figures paced in front of the mansion's grand entrance, their eyes scanning every corner of the property. The mansion loomed behind them, its stone walls pale against the dawn sky, the tall windows dark and unyielding. Gravel crunched underfoot as they searched the grounds, their flashlights cutting through the faint morning mist. I crouched lower behind a clump of thick shrubs, pressing my back against the rough bark of a tree. My breathing slowed, my body tense as I tried to melt into the shadows. The gravel driveway stretched out beneath them like a line drawn in the earth, separating me from the towering mansion. I pulled my head in tight, squeezing my eyes shut. If I couldn't see them, then maybe, just maybe, they couldn't see me. "Probably Scarpa," a man said. "Bastard," a woman swore. The gravel crunched under their feet as they finally decided to head back inside, eager to keep the party going before the night tipped beyond their control. Laughter drifted through the chilly night air, echoing faintly against the stone walls of the Georgian mansion. I waited, every muscle tensed, as they staggered toward the grand entrance, their voices fading into the low hum of night sounds. Carefully, I glanced over the top of the damp foliage. Through the branches, I could see them, 6 shadows slipping up the wide stone steps, still clutching their drinks, silhouettes swaying slightly under the dim, ornate lanterns flanking the front doors. The heavy doors creaked open, spilling warm golden light from the mansion's vast hallway across the gravel. One by one, they disappeared inside, laughing and oblivious, until the last one pulled the door shut, plunging the grounds back into shadow. I exhaled slowly, loosening the grip on my knees as the silence settled once more. Somewhere beyond those stone walls, the music pulsed faintly, muffled and surreal against the otherwise quiet night. The mansion loomed dark and regal against the night sky, its symmetrical windows watching over the grounds with a sense of eerie, silent authority. I knew I wouldn't have much time. The party would hold their attention for only so long before someone might wander out onto the grounds again. "Fucking pricks," I mumbled. I waited for another 5 minutes, getting wetter, getting more pissed off by the minute. Then I shifted my position and did a crouch run back across the lawn and into the safety of the woods. I made my way back out onto the road and walked swiftly to my car, nicknamed the Shit Heap, an old battered Jensen Interceptor, purple, which had been on its last legs when I bought it 3 years ago and was still on its last legs now. It started on the 4th attempt, as it usually did, the growling throb of its V8 engine invigorating my soul. I wound it in gear and blasted my way along the narrow country road like shit off a hot shovel. The car was an enigma, bodywork rusted, bumped and bashed to fuckery, but the engine warm and throbbing like a panther. It wouldn't reach much at an auction, but it certainly knew how to move. The night had been a complete waste of time. I had got no further in my investigation. My client, the bitch, would no doubt give me another earful when I spoke to her in the morning, or should I say, later this morning. It was already thinking about getting light and I would probably get no sleep before I had to drive out to her ponched-up flat in Surrey. I hated my job, if you could call crawling around in the fucking woods at night a fucking job. Private detectives have a reputation for being scum, thanks mainly to television and the film industry, but you had to admit it wasn't a very salubrious occupation at the best of times, nosing about in people's lives, looking for dirty washing, secrets to pass on to interested parties, general snooping on behalf of nosy shit-stirring bastards, laughingly referred to as clients by some and cunts by me. I hated them all, the worst people in the world, much worse in fact than the people I spent my time investigating, straying partners, benefit scammers. These people, bad as they were still a cut above the filth that employed me to spy on them. My latest client was one of the worst. Jane Palmer, middle-class troublemaking bitch of the century. I hated her so much I almost said no to the inflated prices she was paying me to follow her husband Kenny about, convinced that he was hanging out with hookers and girls half his age. I had been watching him now for over 2 months and had found nothing dodgy about the guy at all. He was all business, a dull but honest bastard as far as I could tell, not a sniff of evidence, and Jane was getting pissed off big time. Some women might be pleased to find out that their husbands were not getting up to any shenanigans behind their backs, but not Jane. She just considered it my fault. I was an incompetent fool who was incapable of following simple instructions. Tonight's fiasco would just add fuel to her fire. I'd fucked up again. All I'd had to do was keep an eye on him at some so-called business function and get a couple of Polaroids of him with his hand down the front of some bimbo's blouse. Not much to ask for £200 a day, was it? Only there weren't any bimbos there, only a room full of business people getting pissed and networking to 80s pop music. When one of the women spotted me peering out of a cupboard, all hell had broken loose. I'd had to leg it and hide in a bush in the rain. A great night's work. Followed by another ear-bashing from Jane. Oh yes, I hated my fucking job. The meeting with Jane Palmer turned out a lot worse than even I had expected. In fact, it was a fucking catastrophe. It began with the usual, her ranting on, criticizing my performance, my appearance, my very existence. I stood there taking it like a man for a considerable time before I finally snapped. Once I'd given her a nice long dose of her own medicine, many expletives were included in the package. I did not need her to tell me I was off the case, because I'd already told her to shove it, but the outcome was the same. I was off the case, and was glad to be so. I slammed the door on my way out, to the sound of her harsh bleating complaints still following me down the corridor. Once outside, I got in the shit heap, revved the bollocks off it, and wheel-span my way out of her life. I sincerely hoped that was the last I would see or hear from Jane fucking Palmer. As it turned out, it was the last I'd hear from her, but not the last I'd hear about her. She was on the front page of all the national rags first thing the following morning. Her body had been found, hacked to pieces. Furthermore, a man matching my description had been seen getting into a purple car matching the shit heap's description and driving away in an aggressive manner. I went straight down to my local police station to sort it out. It didn't go quite as well as I'd hoped. I ended up doing 15 years for murder. British justice. You can't beat it.